it's Kevin again, and this is going to be my review for Sherlock Season 3, Episode 2, The Sign of Three. I know this is a very delayed review because this episode came out on Sunday. Well, in the U.S. For the U.K., it aired like 2 weeks ago. But for the U.S., it aired, in the States, it aired on Sunday. And I did not get a chance to watch it. There were so many other things, plus me being sick, I didn't feel like watching it at the time. And I just got done watching it, and I love this episode. To a point, I didn't think it was as good as the first one. I liked it, but it wasn't as good as the first one. In the beginning, I will admit, it was a little bit boring. It was. I felt there were some parts that were a little boring. But overall, I did enjoy the episode. I just didn't like it as much as the first one. Thought the first one was a better episode. But this one was still good. I just felt, because these kind of go on for like 80-something minutes, it dragged a little bit in the beginning, but then it really picked up towards the end. So let's get to the episode. I really like the plot of the episode. We started out seeing this robbery, basically. The Walters gang are donning their clown mask. They break into a bank after hours. They empty their sale. Greg is determined to catch them in the act. He arrives at the bank with the entire police squad when he receives an emergency text message from Sherlock telling him he needs help now. Greg leaves the police force at the bank and rushes over to Sherlock's house in a panic, only to find him trying to write a best man speech for Watson's wedding. He called Greg over to help him. And I thought this was definitely really funny with him doing the whole best man speech, and that he, never hired Sherlock to do a best man speech because he's not going to be good at it. So the next day, Mrs. Hudson brings Sherlock his morning tea, catches him dancing, and it's John's wedding day. Sherlock is less than thrilled, and Mrs. Hudson is obviously excited, and Sherlock doesn't want to hear it. He sends her down the street to pick up some biscuits. John and his bride tie the knot, and Sherlock and the rest of the wedding head to the reception. Mary's bride enlists Sherlock to use his skills to help her find a man to go home with. And now it's time for Sherlock's big best man speech. And the speech is like 20 minutes long. Like, it's definitely not a good best man speech, and it was also probably the longest speech ever. They say right here. He bombs this speech. Apparently speaking in public is not Sherlock Holmes' forte. Sherlock didn't and then we basically see how everything happened, leading up to this. And I like the way they did that. I like that they showed everything that happened leading up to this. Sherlock didn't even want the best man gig, but John shamed him into it, telling him he was his best friend and needed him by his side. And Sherlock gave what must be the longest, most excruciatingly awkward and accurately detailed best man speech ever. And he finished the speech by telling the entire wedding reception that he can't congratulate John because weddings are a symbol of doom. And he manages to recover the speech by adding that Mary deserves John and that he and Mary will never let John down. Sherlock goes on to tell everyone at the wedding party funny stories about John, which aren't really that funny. And Sherlock then goes to tell the wedding goers about the Bloody Guardsman. This is when the episode got a little bit boring. The beginning of this Bloody Guardsman story was a little bit boring. Just days before his wedding, John was going stir crazy, so Sherlock agreed to take him out of the case. He received an email from a guardsman named Private Bainbridge that was scared of a photographer that he kept taking photos of him. Watson and Sherlock head to the regiment to meet with Bainbridge, but when they arrive at the barracks, the guardsman is dead in the shower. John tries to examine the body, realizes that Bainbridge is still breathing. The strange thing is the shower was locked when Bainbridge was stabbed. There was no murder weapon. Sherlock reveals in his wedding party that he was never able to solve the Bainbridge stabbing. And then we get to the funny part of the episode with this Bainbridge story. This part I really liked. Sherlock continues his speech with a retelling of a bizarre case. And he and John, the Mayfly Man, which he and John took on while completely drunk. And after a long night of drinking, a client shows up at Sherlock's in distress, and Sherlock is completely drunk at this point, so this scene was hilarious. She claims she just went out with a ghost. She met a nice man, took him out to dinner, they went back to his place, and the man completely disappeared. The man's landlord told the woman that her date had died years ago. Sherlock and Watson head over to the dead man's apartment, still belligerent to look for clues, or as Watson puts it, clue for looks. After vomiting in the apartment while they are looking for clues, they wake up in a jail cell completely hungover. I thought this whole scene with them just drunk and everything was absolutely hilarious. John heads back to Mrs. Hudson's to drink some Alka-Seltzer and talk to her about her fast-approaching wedding. Mrs. Hudson confesses that her wedding was a disaster. Her husband was running a drug cartel and cheating on her. and when he was murdered, she was grateful he was dead. So I actually like this reveal on Mrs. Hudson because we got to find out a little bit more about her with her wedding. I like that. Upstairs, Sherlock is still hung up on the case of the woman dating Ghost. Sherlock gets online, realizes that the woman he met last night is not only the woman claiming to have dated a ghost, he also realizes that there is a man running around assuming the identities of a dead man in the obituary and pretending to be them for a day, and dating women under their name. Sherlock realized that the Mayfly ghost date was obviously a married man. He was pretending to be someone else, date random women to escape his unhappy marriage for a night. So then Sherlock finishes the Mayfly story. The entire wedding reception stares him blankly. Also, during this, they had a really cool thing called the Mind Palace, which was really awesome. We basically went into Sherlock's head, and we did the same thing in the first episode, but in this one we went into his head, and we saw, like, a whole bunch of people, almost like in a balcony. It seemed almost like, like there was a whole orchestra in his head, and he just started, like, eliminating people in his head. It was really cool, and he went, not you, not you, not you, not you, not you, not you, not you. It was you. And I thought that was actually really cool because it was something that I don't think I've seen before, and I think it was definitely, that was a really cool scene, was the Mind Palace. I think the Mind Palace was definitely one of the most interesting parts of the episode, and I really enjoyed that, so that was really good. So as Sherlock is finishing his story, the entire wedding reception is staring him blankly. Sherlock raises his glass to toast his best friend's marriage, and it suddenly hits him. He drops his champagne glass. He suddenly remembers that the woman that dated Ghost had referred to John as John Hamish Watson. Now, the thing is that no one knows John's middle name but him and a few selected close family and friends. So Sherlock realizes that the Mayfly man must be at the wedding, and he begins wandering through the wedding attendees and trying to determine who the Mayfly man is. While he rambles, John and Mary watch him completely confused. He texts Greg while he is giving his speech and tells Greg to lock the wedding down. He says a code word, battle stations, while he is rambling, and John realizes someone is going to die. So Sherlock decides that the entire wedding reception should play the game Murder, and he has no idea who the murderer is, but he realizes that the victim must be Watson's close friend, James Shulton, from the army, and Shulton's received multiple death threats since he lost several soldiers' lives on a mission. So Sherlock finishes his speech, rushes off to follow to try to save Shulton. Mary, Watson, and Sherlock rush upstairs to a hotel room that Shulton is staying in. Shulton refuses to open the door, though. He is sitting inside with a gun, waiting for someone to try to kill him. Sherlock realizes that the bloody soldier was a practice kill to practice murdering Shulton, and he realizes that the bloody soldier was killed by his own uniform's belt. So he instructs Shulton not to take his belt off because when he does it, it will stab him to death. So Shulton finally opens the door. Watson heads inside to help him get the belt off without stabbing himself. And Sherlock's flirting with a bridesmaid he befriended. And this is kind of funny. He demonstrates his secret ballet skills for the bridesmaid. What I like is while you have this really intense stuff going on, you also have this really funny stuff with Sherlock. That's what I really love about this show, is that it doesn't take itself too seriously. And I really enjoy that about this episode. And the first two episodes, I thought the same thing. Neither of these episodes have taken themselves that too seriously. So Greg interrupts. He has fetched the photographer that was taking photos of the bloody soldier. Coincidentally, he was also the wedding photographer. The wedding photographer is a Mayfly man. He confesses to attempting to kill Shulton because his brother was one of the soldiers that Shulton let die. So Sherlock and the wedding guests then head back into the party. Sherlock plays a song on the violin for Mary and Watson to dance their first dance together as a married couple to. And this was definitely a very cute scene. You had the song, "Oh, What a Night," over this. And then Sherlock gives a final speech apologizing for his previous speech. Then he announces that Mary and John are expecting a baby. And Mary didn't know she was pregnant, though. Sherlock picked up on all the signs. And Mary and John begin panicking. But Sherlock reassures that they have plenty of practice taking care of him. And they'll make great parents. And that was basically the end of the episode. And you know what? I really enjoyed it. Some of it was a little bit boring. Like, for example, the beginning of this whole the bloody soldier case, that was a little bit boring in my opinion. It wasn't, like, boring to the point where I'm like, oh, can this end already? This is so boring. Come on, wrap it up. It wasn't like that. But it was a little bit, it was just a little bit boring. I just, that part was a little bit boring to me. And, yeah, that was definitely interesting. By the way, Sherlock did not find out Mary was pregnant just by her telling him. He found out because he quietly reveals to them that he has observed in Mary increased appetite, change in taste perception, sickness in the morning, the signs of 3. That's why it was called the sign of 3, because of Mary being pregnant. So next week is the last episode before the next week's the finale, or should I say tomorrow night is the finale. And I enjoyed this episode. I did. I really enjoyed this episode. What I am hearing, though, is that the third episode is possibly the greatest episode of Sherlock to ever air, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. I know there's a huge twist in the episode, and I already know what it is because I found out on YouTube. But, let me know if you guys saw this episode. And would I say this was as good as the first episode? No, I don't think it was as good as the first episode. I think the first episode is still better, but I enjoyed this one. I thought it was a fun episode, and it was funny to watch. It was definitely funny to see Sherlock give his best man speech. It was funny to see, him be so upset about giving this best man speech. It was funny to see him rambling on about it. It was funny to see John and Watson drunk. That was definitely really funny. I enjoyed the case to a point, but the case was a little bit boring in this episode, but I enjoyed it for the most part. There's really no questions to ask in this episode or answer. The only question is, what's going to happen now that Mary's pregnant? Do you think, what's going to happen there? We'll have to see. There's really no other questions. It was pretty much a standalone episode, just them getting married. And it was a cute episode, I gotta say. The ending was pretty cute, with the two of them dancing. And then Sherlock finding out she was pregnant was a nice touch to it. I definitely found that to be really funny, and I enjoyed that a lot. So, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, let me know if you guys saw the episode, and I will see you guys in the next video, which will be my review of The Blacklist. So, I'll see you then. Bye.